So if you're like me, you probably think Regular Show is one of the best cartoons, if not the best cartoon to come out in the last 10 years. Growing up, the weekly adventures of Mordecai and Rigby were so fun and random and just brought a different type of energy that you weren't getting from a lot of shows airing at the time. And as the show would evolve, it became very clear to all of its viewers that we were watching something special. From the characters, to the music, to the themes, to me and to many more, Regular Show brought so many fond memories throughout its 8-season run. So when it was announced that Regular Show's 8th season would be its final one, you can imagine how many people weren't ready to part with this series, as to them, it became more than just another cartoon. And even though the show wrapped up with an emotional finale and concluded everything in the story pretty well, a large portion of the fanbase just felt a little bit empty, as for many of them, Regular Show aired from the time that they were kids up until the time that they were adults. Well, luckily for many of these fans, this hole wouldn't be empty for much longer, because almost immediately after the end of Regular Show, we would get an announcement of a new series called Close Enough. And not only was this series also going to be created by JG Quintel, the creator of Regular Show, but it was also confirmed that Close Enough was going to have a more mature rating than Regular Show, something that many Regular Show fans thought was the only thing really holding Regular Show back. So with all these perfect factors coming together to create Close Enough, this show just had to be a hit. It was obvious that this was going to be JG Quintel's next long-running animated series, and it would no doubt reach the same heights, if not higher, that Regular Show reached, right? So yeah, the show got cancelled after 3 seasons. But what if I were to tell you that Close Enough was fighting a losing battle from the start, and the show getting cancelled had nothing to do with the creator, the animators, the team working on it, or even the show itself? So let's take a look back at Close Enough and see just why this show got cancelled. So the world would get its first introduction to Close Enough 6 years ago, after the TBS YouTube channel would post a sneak peek trailer. And while there wasn't much information given from the trailer, it was clear that from what was shown, Close Enough was going to be a series with some real hype around it, as many people in the comments were quick to point out that Close Enough looked like a second coming of Regular Show. But it was clear that unlike Regular Show, Close Enough was definitely marketed towards a more adult audience, as the trailer had cursing, nudity, drugs, and just overall more mature themes. But still, even with these mature themes, it was clear that Close Enough had many similarities to Regular Show, from the art style to the characters to the dialogue and even the comedy. Now don't get me wrong, in no way am I saying that Close Enough felt like a Regular Show ripoff, but in a way it felt like it was paying tribute to JG Quintel's original work. And many Regular Show fans who tuned in to get this first sneak peek of Close Enough felt the same way. As one of the top comments said, "We grew up watching Regular Show, but now we're mature enough to watch Close Enough." And many of these fans who tuned in to get a sneak peek of Close Enough were really excited to watch the first episode. And it looked like they wouldn't have to wait long, because after the trailer dropped and reached over 4 million views, it was announced that Close Enough was indeed getting a full season and would be dropping only a year later. And as you could probably guess, this made so many people happy, because at this time, Regular Show had only ended about 4 months ago. So now the fans were being notified that they were getting a new show by the creator in only a little over a year. I remember being one of these fans at the time, just patiently waiting to watch Close Enough, as it was one of my most highly anticipated shows of that year. Unfortunately though, the wait was way longer than any of us had expected. Apparently TBS, the company that was supposed to air Close Enough, was having its own animation issues, because they just flat out canceled their entire adult animation section after receiving bad ratings surrounding this animated show called Final Space. Which is really crazy to say out loud, because the fact that one show can get an entire animation department just eradicated is so wild to me. But as a result, Close Enough went from being scheduled to air in a little over a year to being completely shelved, with no company to produce it and no channel to air on. And the show would stay that way for about 3 years, until it was thankfully announced that the show would be airing on HBO Max as an original series. And I remember hearing this announcement and being so happy about it. I had honestly forgot about Close Enough in the 3 years it had been shelved and didn't know about the production issues behind it. So to see that it had number 1 not been cancelled, but also number 2 see that it was going to be airing on a big platform like HBO Max was a great thing for me to see. But after all the hype, after all the delays, and after all the production issues, it was time to see, was Close Enough actually any good? Or was it just being held up by Regular Show fans clinging on to the past, hoping that Close Enough could be a Regular Show part 2? And the answer was no, Close Enough actually was really good. Believe it or not, I remember going through my first watch of Close Enough and setting my expectations really low. At this point in time, I had tracked the show for at least 3 years, and throughout that entire time period, I just kept thinking to myself, man, it's gonna be as good as regular show. It's gonna feel like I'm watching regular show all over again. But that's the thing, Close Enough isn't regular show, and that's actually what makes it so good. Unlike regular show where we follow two 20-year-olds who are trying to figure out what life is outside of high school, Close Enough follows the couple of Josh and Emily who are in their early 30s and are trying to figure out what life is after marriage and while raising a kid. Because regular show was centered towards a younger demographic and many of its audience members were either people going to high school, in high school, or graduating high school, it touched on a lot of topics that these people were either facing or would be facing soon in the future. Things like getting over breakups, interning at your first job, graduating from high school only to figure out that you have no clue what you actually want to do in life. In a lot of ways, regular show was a coming of age story for teenagers and young adults, as a majority of its seasons taught so many lessons to people who were in that transition phase to where you're not exactly an adult, but you're transitioning out of being a kid. We witnessed Mordecai and Rigby go from goofy slackers in the beginning of the series, who then transform into two competent people who found their place in the world and understand who they really are. And by the final episode, we see them as adults with kids, careers, and just a complete night and day contrast from the beginning of the series. They essentially graduated from the young adult stage and moved on to the next. And this is one of the reasons why I think Close Enough is so good, because instead of being an exact mirror to regular show and tackling the same issues that it did, Close Enough actually follows up where regular show left off. Like I said, regular show tackled a bunch of issues that young adults would face, but Close Enough tackles a bunch of issues that someone who's already been adult for a while but is moving on to that next phase in life would have to overcome. For example, being new parents and participating in school fundraisers, living with roommates because houses are too expensive, and learning how to balance being a parent, a partner, working a job, and still having time for yourself. If regular show was a coming of age story, Close Enough was a story made to relate/guide their audience into the next phase in life. One of my favorite episodes from season 1 is the episode called Logan's Run D. The episode starts off with Josh and Emily sending their daughter Candace off to a sleepover. They soon realize that this is the first time in 5 years that they have time to themselves and don't have to be parents. They then go on a spree around the town to do exciting stuff, but it's a montage of them doing the most mild-mannered and boring stuff ever, like pumping gas, going to the bookstore, and spending the night doing taxes. We then cut to them the next night spending it laid up under covers watching a cooking show. They then invite their roommate Bridget to join them, but she politely declines, telling them that she's going to a club. She then also tells them in the most respectful way possible that they're both getting old and lame. So in an attempt to prove that they're both still young and cool, Josh and Emily join their roommates to go to the club. Fast forward in the episode and the group's at the club. Josh goes to get drinks for everybody but ends up paying an insanely high tip because he doesn't know how to work the card machine. Like, bro, we being for real right now? 100% tip? Where have you ever went anywhere and paid a 100% tip? But I think this was just used as an example to show that he's old and that they weren't using card readers in the club when he was young. Fast forward again in the episode and the group's all having fun. Everybody's running around jumping. Josh is jumping on top of stuff, and by the end of it, everybody's just tired. The club lights come on and Josh and Emily are super proud of themselves because they partied all night and proved that they're still young and cool. Only for them to find out a few seconds later that somebody just turned the lights on accident and it's only 9 o'clock, meaning that they've only been there for like a couple minutes. The group then huddles up debating if they should leave or not because they're all exhausted and tired, but none of them want to actually admit that they're old. Meanwhile, while they're having this conversation, a guy goes up to the bar to buy drinks, and when they ID him, they find out that he's over 35. They then publicly execute him in front of everybody because the club is apparently only for young people. The group then freaks out as they try to escape without anyone figuring out that they're all actually in their 30s. But Josh ends up blowing his cover, and just as the club owner gets ready to set him up for execution, Josh's roommate Alex jumps in to try to sacrifice himself. We then see Josh and Emily holding on to Alex to try to save him, but Alex says that they should just let him go because he's old, and if he's old then he doesn't even have a reason to live. But Josh and Emily try to talk him out of it by bringing up all the cool things that you can do when you're old that he would miss out on, and by the end of it they convince Alex to still want to live and end up saving him. The group then confronts the club owner to then only find out that he's actually been lying about his age the entire time and that he's actually in his 40s and is the oldest person in the entire building. All the young people in the club then turn on him and start attacking him, and our group runs out the club to go get something to eat. And by the end of it, Josh and Emily realize that it's okay to not be young and do the things that you used to do. Because as you get older, your tastes change, and what was fun before oftentimes isn't fun anymore. And I really like this episode because it really summed up a lot of themes that you would see throughout season 1 of Close Enough. And that theme mainly being that as you get older, things change. Your dreams change, your life change, and more importantly, you change. And Close Enough as a whole tried to highlight that in almost every episode. And as you could guess, season 1 of Close Enough was a hit, receiving nothing but praise from the fans that had been anticipating it for so long and critics. It would then go on to have 2 more successful seasons in only the span of 2 years. And from the outside looking in, it looked like Close Enough was gonna have a long, and I do mean long, animated run. So if that's the case, the $1 million question is, why did Close Enough get canceled? And the answer is actually really disappointing. See, back in 2022, Discovery merged with Warner Media and the company accumulated a lot of debt. So to cut costs and save money, they started cutting a lot of shows. And Close Enough just happened to be one of these shows that got cut, which is just so stupid to me because they came out themselves and admitted that Close Enough was really popular with fans and had great reviews. But for some reason, Warner Media felt like they got everything they wanted out of Close Enough and wanted to focus on other shows. And do you want to know what one of these shows was? One of these shows that they just felt like they had to pass up Close Enough for? Bro, it was Velma. It was Velma. They passed up Close Enough for Velma. I was just at a loss for words when I found this out. But even though it ended way too quickly, I think for the amount of seasons that it got and the amount of work that the team working on it put into it, Close Enough was a great series with so much potential. For me, it not only fed my love for regular show, but it also gave me something new to like as it separated itself from regular show in so many ways. And hey, JG Quintel has been very vocal throughout the years that he would be willing to bring back regular show if fans wanted it bad enough. So maybe there's a possibility where Close Enough could be picked up again and brought back for a season 4, but you know, only time will tell. But what were your thoughts on Close Enough? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you not even know about it until you seen this video? Let me know in the comments below. And make sure to hit the like button as it helps me a lot and pushes the content out to more people. Also subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and let me know in the comments below what show I should cover next. And until then, it's been your boy Corn XV, and I'm off this.
Up in this tank, yeah, it's over. Turn on bus master like cold. Pull up in Rovers, it's over. Bitch, I'm cheese sauce, so this cold. Llama, it can't want no hoes. Bottle, it can't let me pour. High as fun, just like a float. Wanna glow, let me show you. V long thug.